Hello, what's going on? It's Doug Cunnington here. It's the weekly live stream. I will answer some questions about niche sites, authority sites, affiliate marketing, random other questions if you have them, and I'll tell stories. I have several stories to tell. I even wrote them down here on post-it notes, so I'll probably remember them. We'll see. If you're in the chat, let me know if you can hear me. That's always good to double check. Let's see. I can hear myself on the headphones, so that's always a good sign. And I see Jill's here already. What's going on, Jill? Just give me a chat. Give me a shout in the chat. Let me know you could hear me. Let me know where you're from as well. That's always good to know. And I think my camera's doing a little funny stuff. Let me switch something. Hopefully that didn't ruin anything. And we have Might Duck as well. What's going on? And I'll get to the questions in a minute. It always takes a few minutes for people to hop on. So I'll use some of that time because I know many people do watch the replay. In fact, if you watch the replay later, just let me know in the comments. Just say, hey, I catch the replays. I appreciate it when you do that. It's all the YouTube algorithm stuff. Hit the thumbs up also if you like it. If you don't like it, you can hit dislike if you want. You know, I don't love that, but we don't see the tally anymore because YouTube creators are very sensitive. And we get so sad if we see how many people dislike a video. So, but if you don't like it, you can hit the thumbs down, hit the thumbs up, whichever one. Either way is fine with me. Zach's on, Gaz is on, and Med is here. David, one of the kind moderators. People can hear us. And Shah is from Pakistan. And then we have Ariel as well. Ariel. I always want to jazz it up a little bit, but I should just go with my instincts. Before we get into it too much, quick shout out to a couple sponsors. Number one, Ezoic, their tool Leap, help your site load faster. Green and Core Web Vitals. They have no page view minimums, so you can sign up as soon as you start your site, and you could use some of the tools that are available, including some of the caching and CDN capabilities as well. So have a look. There's a link in the description here. Also, we have Odys. I will run an ad from them later where I highlight a particular domain. If you are in the market for an age domain, premium age domain, they do have a deal going on just for a couple days. So depending on when you watch this, you may still be able to take advantage of the $400 spring bonus here in the year 2022. Incidentally, if anyone watches this way in the future, leave a comment. I'm actually interested. Like, does someone watch one of these maybe like 2 years from now? And they're like, hey, just caught up on the old live stream from a couple years ago. So leave a comment. It's like a time capsule or something like that. And then finally, we have niche website builders. I'm working with them on a case study, which is very exciting. I have published a blog post on their blog. You could follow the link in the description here for niche website builders and head over to their blog area, and you can see the blog post that I wrote for them. It's the kickoff of a case study. We're about 1 month in, but everything is a little bit delayed. So I had to wait until we did stuff before I told you about it. There's a podcast out there already on my feed, the Doug Show. There's a link for that, and you can get a little bit of the commentary there. And I'll be publishing a YouTube video. I'm going to sort of stagger everything, so each piece may have a little bit of information that you know, whether it's on YouTube or the blog or my podcast, but each one will also have new information in there. So I'm kind of staggering it, and I'll talk more about that later. So I see there's a ton of people here in the chat. We have Couch as well from Arizona, and we have Morena from New Zealand. John, or it's John Rydell, but Morena from. So welcome everyone. This is fantastic. Like I said, I do have a lot of questions, and we'll go around and we'll answer questions in here. I have many stories to tell. I just got back yesterday, kind of late in the evening. I was out at kind of a retreat. It is called Camp Fi, and there's a subset of this audience here that does listen to the Mile High Five podcast, which is about personal finance and financial independence. And that's another area of interest that I have. So I have this whole other podcast, this whole other like group of people. There's a whole other community around the personal finance side. So I went to the Camp 5, which was down in Florida near the Gainesville area. It's about 30 minutes from Gainesville in the middle of nowhere, which people, is there anyone from Florida? Let me know if you're from Florida or you know a lot about Florida. Maybe you lived there before, you traveled through. I'm from Atlanta originally, so we went on many vacations down in Florida, but I had not been there probably in 15 years or so. And I hadn't been to Orlando probably in 25 years. I don't even remember. I don't remember the last time I went to Orlando. So it was kind of fun. I have an aunt that lives in the Orlando area, and hopefully in a second, someone will tell me they're from Florida. She lives in the Villages. In the Villages, it's a fairly large community. It's about 150,000 people, and it's a senior citizen community. You may have heard of it. You may have not known it was called the Villages, but a few years back, and everyone can Google this. Maybe you could come back with some headlines. So the Villages in Florida, it's famous for an STD outbreak. I think there have been multiple ones, but all these senior citizens go down there, and maybe they're widows or widowers, and they're out on the town. It's a fucking party down there. It's bananas. So not everyone's, partying like it's spring break, but basically it's retired people who have a decent amount of money. It's a wide range, by the way. So there's some, smaller sort of starter homes, some older places, and then there's like multi-million dollar spots like on golf courses. And my aunt lives sort of in the like sort of older, more conservative. She lives in a 2-2. It's just a nice little neighborhood. So it is like a party down there. There are basically everyone has a golf cart, and they drive around on their golf cart paths, and it's very friendly. You never have to get on the road if you don't want to. There are a couple paths where you can kind of ride on the side of the road, like a bike lane, but generally you could just stay off the road. And that said, there's all these different activities and all these different places where you could drink. So there are a handful of people that just go out and party and start drinking at noon, and then they're just having a fun time and hooking up. It's pretty interesting. And okay, so Zach says you lived in Central Florida for 13 years, and Couch is lived north of Atlanta in Lawrenceville. Okay, and kayaked with gators in Florida. It's beautiful there. Yeah. So I'm from Lawrenceville originally, so small world. Okay. Villages were pretty cool overall. There's a lot of retail areas, tons of places to eat, which at some point it does get a little bit old, but it is much like, suburbia USA. And it's all this, it's fine. I grew up in the suburbs and it makes me feel comfortable. But, part of the fun was just knowing that it was like a senior community and knowing the reputation that they have. So if you get a chance to visit, check it out. And not everyone is a senior citizen. I think the law says that up to 20% of the population can be under 50 or 55. But if you drive through, you'll immediately, or go to a store or a restaurant, you'll immediately tell that everyone is very old. They're all pretty old. So that was cool, and I hung out there. My dad came down to visit for a couple days as well, so I got to see him. He still lives in the Atlanta area. And let me know, is anyone a resident of the Villages that's on the chat right now? That would be pretty amazing. All right, I'm going to jump back in the chat. So we'll answer some questions. I'll tell some stories, and I'll tell you a little bit about the retreat, which is, it's always great to meet people in person. I know, right now we're recording this at the very end of March. I know the, what is it called? The affiliate something out there in UK. So that should be a blast for everyone that's going. You get to connect. Most of the time in our own worlds, in our own lives, we don't have a ton of people that we can talk to where they understand what we're talking about. They think we're crazy. And it's similar in the financial independence community, FI community. People will try to tell their friends about it and they don't really know what to make of it. And we're really obsessed and excited and we want to tell people about it, but they don't get it. So when you go to an in-person event and it's taken, some effort for people to get there, it really sort of filters all the people that will be there, and that they'll understand what you're talking about and they'll probably be interested. You'll learn so much, you'll make great connections, it'll be a blast. All right, let's hit some questions. Gaz comes back, adding value. This is fantastic. So last week, Gaz asked about if you monetize with Ezoic and your traffic comes from all over the world. Basically, he checked on this and he says Ezoic will country specify the ads so they see. So basically, the right ads show to the right people. So that is good. DJ does say that you were watching a replay while you waited. Nice. John's here. What's going on? Guy says you love the outdoors, but your wife only entertains 5-star hotels. And one thing, so Zach lived in Central Florida for 13 years. Nice area overall. When I left Colorado, it had been sort of flurrying, a little snowy for a couple days. It didn't stick or anything like that, but it was just like cold and kind of in the 30s, and there were always flurries coming down every couple hours. And when I got to Florida, I got off the plane and stepped into the jetway, and it was like I stepped into a steam room. It was very warm that day, I think like about 90, and just the humidity was insane because it's very dry here in Colorado. In fact, like the guitar behind me, like I have to keep it in its case most of the year instead of like having it out just generally because it's so dry here. And then when you run the heat, it just, of course, sucks all the moisture out of the air as well. All right. John says, hiring writers, how best to approach this? What's the difference between Upwork and agencies like hands-off writers, niche website builders, or passion posts? Okay. So good, wonderful question. Disclosure, niche website builders is sponsoring these Q&A sessions. So it's biased, but I could tell you exactly, or basically, don't trust what I'm telling you, but I'll tell you it straight. So Upwork, you're hiring freelancers directly. You have to do the management. You have to hire them, fire them, give them their assignments. You have to do all this admin work. And if you're used to hiring people, that's cool. It's not a big deal. It's pretty easy. Upwork is a great interface. I don't know passion posts or hands-off writers or whatever. There's fucking dozens of them, right? So you could kind of generically treat them the same. Some are going to be better, some will be worse, some will be cheaper, others more expensive. And the value that you get from the agencies is they do the project management. They have a pool of writers that they could assign the work to. I don't know where individual agencies hire their writers, but you can assume they're hiring similar freelancers as ones that you can hire directly. And the companies have to earn money. And there's some person like me who can hire people and manage them and organize the assignments and have quality control in there. And all that work has to be paid for in some capacity. So when you go to an agency, it's much easier. You're just dealing most likely with one person, and you don't have to deal with the writers, and you don't necessarily have to do the same kind of quality control. However, it will cost you a large amount of money, most likely. If you look at a per word basis, it's probably going to cost you a lot more. And you might be thinking, hey, some of these agencies have a pretty reasonable cost per word, or yeah, that's how we can call it that. It's interesting, but when you peel it back, they have to be paying someone. So there's a chance that they're paying someone a super low rate and they're still making their margin elsewhere. But who knows? Maybe they're just hiring a poor writer. So when you go to the better agencies that have the higher quality writing, it costs more because they have to pay the writers more. And then you still have to pay for the admin. There's a lot of different pieces in the equation there, right? So if I live here in an expensive area in Longmont, Colorado, and I had an agency, I would have to like charge a lot for my effort and time. And maybe I have an account manager and maybe they're located locally in an expensive place also. So all of that would add up. All that overhead is something that has to be paid for by the client. So generally, in the beginning, I was mostly just hiring people directly from Upwork because I do have skills in HR, onboarding, and assigning work, running projects. So it was fairly straightforward for me to do that. And as I've gotten, I guess, interested in other stuff like podcasting and spending more time in other areas, I didn't want to do all that admin work. So I work with companies like Niche Website Builders. So quick summary, if you hire writers directly, whether it's Upwork or Craigslist or some other job board, you're probably going to get higher quality for the same price as what you would pay an agency. Or if you find a cheap agency, then you're probably going to have lower quality. And there's a couple pieces in there that sort of move back and forth, but you could think of it as a triangle. There's many different analogies with this, and it applies to many industries. You can get it cheap or fast or easy. You can pick like two, but you can't pick all three. All right. So Couch says you kayaked with gators in Florida. I did hop on a canoe and paddled around with one of the other attendees there, Kathy. Yeah. Paddled around with Kathy, and it was fun. Luckily, no gators, at least none that we saw. All right. And Gaz says PMSL, which I don't know what that is, and then STD retirement parties. Yeah, it's crazy out there. John Rydell sees this. Does anyone know what this is from? University of America Samoa, law school. That should be law school too. It's the law school version. And Zach, yeah. So Zach says, just go to Publix and look at the golf cart to car ratio. It tells you how high old people driving golf cart population is. Yeah. Oh, John says affiliate gathering. Yeah. All right, Jody's here. What's happening? Guy says you're disappointed that I didn't get an invite. Yeah. I'm surprised. It must have pissed off the wrong people, but it must be the cussing. Tufa says, you just joined. What's happening? Which event am I mentioning for affiliate marketing? How can we join online? Yeah, there's something. Someone will put a link in here, and I know tomorrow I'm doing a live stream with my friends Alex and Niche Website Builders, and everyone knows Alex. I think he's going live later now that I think our times sort of are resynced. So I'm like the opening act, and then later you could hop over to Alex's stream, and I think I don't know all the details. I found out about it the same way you guys did. So anyway, if you were looking for it, someone could tell you how to find it. I'm not an affiliate. I have no connection to it. I don't know really much about it. In fact, I'm certain that I know less about it than most of the people that are on the stream here. All right. Yeah, John says you're surprised too. You only listen to me and Authority Hackers. Thanks. Can't get around to listening to Ricky, but appreciate some of the Carl Broadbent's updates. Nice. Jody, buddy, come on. What do I think about AI writing? We shouldn't even mention it. All right. And John says it's affiliate gathering. It's in person indeed. And oh, Goss says you recollect your mom having the Denver Rocky Mountain High on vinyl. Nice. Valin, what's going on? I haven't seen you around in a bit. Good to see you. All right, and then we have Zach says, what suggestions do I have for training writers? You're thinking of making some write with me style videos for each type of post, but you're looking for other ideas also. You know what? It could be interesting to do the write with me so that they can understand your thought process as you're going through it. I have never done that. I typically stick with just templates and tips with examples, maybe like light procedures in there. I think this could be wrong, but I think probably most of the writers would prefer the written word. They can skim it and sort of reference back a little bit more easily. However, I think a video accompanying it could help, especially if you're looking to bring someone on long term. That could be helpful, but I don't have experience with it. But having both of them could appeal to someone who learns in different ways. But I'm assuming if they are a writer or they're trying to be a writer, they feel like they're competent readers. Let's hope so. And then they could just, like I said, it's easier to go back and reference, and they're like, oh, what was that thing? Versus like having to go back to a video and then like try to find the 30-second segment where you went over the thing they're trying to figure out. And Jody mentions a style guide and templates for every kind of post, which I have. If you go to my website, nichesiteproject.com, and Zach, I think you're already on the email list, but I have some templates that do have several different types of articles, as well as a style guideline type situation. And okay, and Zach says you already have templates, which I'm not surprised that you got them already, and it's to further speed up the onboarding process. So speeding up okay, thanks for asking the follow-up. This is perfect. So I think the best way to speed up the onboarding process, number one, you have your template and your style guideline. Every new writer that you hire, let them and encourage them to comment and ask questions for anything that's not clear. And then make it more clear. Even if you're like, they should be able to understand this, unless, say, 10 other people have already gone through and understand it, and you think it's fine also, and maybe the person you hired is not the right fit and they just don't get it. But generally, if you continually improve it by getting comments from everybody that goes through it, then you'll end up with just an iterative process that's always getting better. So if there's ever a question, try to clarify it in the style guideline or template. The other part is to continue to have like a very good and tight feedback loop. So when you hire someone, maybe have them write 1 or 2 articles and then see what it's like and then give them feedback. So the more feedback you can give them, the faster they'll improve and the faster they will be onboarded. Depending on the kind of role, so we're talking about writers in this case, but depending on the role, you may want to schedule something more formally. So when I had the corporate job and I hired someone, they joined the team, I would maybe set up daily meetings for half an hour in the morning and half an hour in the afternoon. So if there was any holdup, any questions, it's only half a day before the next session pops in. Of course, you can have them ask like real time, but it's very good to have it scheduled. And what happens is maybe there's a lot going on the first few days, but then after a week, you can cancel the meetings if they're not needed. But you never want someone stuck at a spot where they're just idle and they don't know what to do. And they're waiting and they don't know how to get their question answered. So if you have like scheduled sessions, and this would probably only apply if you had sort of a higher level VA maybe an executive assistant type or a general manager for something, maybe then is when you should set up your daily meeting. Maybe it's twice daily, however you want to set it up. Maybe it's only 15 minutes. You just catch up and make sure everything's fine. Minaj is asking about AI content. So you can check out some of my previous live streams and I talk about it. But actually someone in the chat, many people in the chat, go ahead and let Minaj know about AI content and experience you might have. Atuf Rahan says, how much content do you recommend starting a new site with? How frequently should we be posting in a month? So you should head over to nichesiteproject.com/FAQ. And there's another section. It is nichesiteproject.com/Amazon-affiliate. And that will tell you a lot of information. If you are just starting out, I recommend you start with, say, 25 articles or so. How frequently should you post in a month? As much as you can. If you're looking for just sort of a baseline, if you're just starting off and you could publish all 25 in a week, do it. If it takes you a year to publish the 25 articles and that's as fast as you can go, do that. As fast as you could do it is great. God says, you have a weird thing happening. My site is having content de-indexed weekly. That is odd. While your second site is having content indexed weekly. So one's older, one's newer. Do you think one of them is more competitive, or is there a difference in the type of content? Maybe one's more informational and the other one's more product review focused. And guys says, I think because the first site's content is crap. And guys, actually this ties in, and I don't even want to bring it up, but it does tie in. So if I remember right, guys, on the first site, you used AI content, right? I'll probably never be able to have any affiliate content or relationship with any of the AI writing companies, because I just shit all over them every chance I get, So if we remember right, that is the case. All right, John says, I send writers an outline to my writers with specs of questions I need answers and do some research and put in the headers. Cool. Yeah. Jody says, you recently heard about a unique approach to creating content when you're new, and that's to start with 0 search queries and build your way up from there. Have I ever tried that? No, I haven't, Jody. I think there could be, potential value to go for very low competition keywords, which typically are very low search volume keywords. I would be, so here, yes, in theory, that could be a great way to do it if they're good keywords. However, basically, there's a chance that you could select keywords that are bad. There's 0 search and it would fulfill that piece of the criteria, but it could be things that people don't care about. So you could come up with keywords that are just weird that no one would search for. So you have to make sure that you're not just going after weird keywords that won't work. All right. Unpoco says, first time commenting here. Thank you so much for sharing the knowledge. Currently, I'm creating a site and I'm only on your 7th article. You'll still need more to start marketing. Yeah, you're welcome for the KGR, you said. Okay, I'm curious when you say you need 13 more to start marketing. Cool. What will your plan be when you start marketing? And I see we have a celebrity in the house. Alex, welcome, my friend. And Minaj is getting some answers back. Jody does say AI is crap. And Alex does tell me that I am Indeed, shooting myself in the foot. Yeah, so that's one of the. Here's what I'll do though. And Alex, I agree with you 100%. I haven't. Part of the charm of the show, that's in air quotes, just in case someone's not watching, that is in actual air quotes here. Part of the charm of the show is I do very, very little to no research ahead of time. The last several weeks, I don't even have a topic. I'm just answering questions here. So I've only tested the AI writers a long time ago, and it wasn't very good. However, I am not opposed to changing my mind and flip-flopping when I get new information. And I'll be ecstatic when the AI writers are great. And when I flip-flop, not if, when, it'll be someday when, what was it Skylink in Terminator? Whenever we have this singularity event and the AI writing is very good, and there's some sort of neural link in my head, and I flip-flop, people will think, oh, it has arrived, and I will buy through Doug's affiliate link. So maybe it's part of a more complex, very long con. I'm going to have my own AI writing software. That's how I'm doing it. I'm like, I'm going to talk trash this whole time. And then finally, I'm like, I have the AI engine that works. Meanwhile, behind the hood, it's, Article Spinner 2010 or whatever. Okay, I'll stop here. But it's one of the most popular topics. Everyone is so curious about it. Just, I have a hard time because it's like, it's the lazy person's solution. Okay. And Zach says we're going to have Eagle versus Duck in the battle over AI. All right. Chris, what's going on, buddy? I heard a smart idea recently. Incentives for writers set expectations, including guidelines. If it's delivered without needing revisions, they earn a bonus. Cool. And yeah, Ariel says, that's why people trust my word. I could make a lot of money as an AI affiliate marketer. And Zach says, careful, Doug. Robots are on Alex's side. That is excellent. It's true, 100%. And GTFO says, if you were getting paid by AI spinning companies, and yeah, exactly. That is the hard part here. So whenever I flip, and I'm like, hey, this live stream is brought to you by whatever company I partner with, and I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good. You might have to edit it a little bit, then but it's better. It's better than hiring writers. But I'll tell you, I always tell you when I take money from folks. Okay. And Ariel says, but you do agree, a shotgun in the foot. Yeah. It is, it's so funny. It's such a hot topic, and I keep bringing it up. If you have a second, hit the thumbs up. We got about 13 here, actually 12. Again, one of them is me. I always like my own videos. And I don't know how to say your name. Ishrat says, my newly published content gets indexed and it gets to the first or second page. Then I can't find the post anywhere in the targeted keyword or for the targeted keyword for a few days. Eventually it comes. Why does it happen? You're a new blogger. I don't know exactly why it happens, but it does happen. And typically it is okay. And sometimes it's Google testing. So in a very simple way, Google sort of A/B tests when it ranks something, and it'll sometimes place it, really high to see what a visitor or a searcher does for it, does with it, and how it interacts with your specific post. And then it may drop off for a few days, and then maybe it comes back. Maybe it drops off for a while before it comes back. So, and again, I don't know why it happens. It could be part of the, ranking algorithm. It could be something like, not necessarily a bug or a defect, but it could be just some piece of how it works in the process. So I'm not sure. Jason, what's going on? And Richard says this in a much more practical way. There's definitely a place for AI writing, but they need to be used properly. They're well placed for helping with sentence construction, rewording, and writer's block. You can't just go and expect them to churn out what you need. And Zach is trying to get his hands in the cookie jar here and be a partner as part of DougNet, the AI writing tool. All right. Yeah, and Alex says, we're all lazy, Doug. Indeed. Yeah. And full case study video coming soon. All site content made with AI. We'll do $300 this month from Amazon. And you can't argue with that. You can't argue with that. And I think that's where, if you can make it work, you're in good shape. And what I can say, on a more serious note, not making fun of it, I've talked to enough people that I know that if you use the AI writing tools in a strategic way and you understand how to use them and you're a little more surgical about it and you're not trying to get super long form content and you provide a lot more guidance, it sounds like you can get reasonable content. It's probably a pretty nice way to get started, especially if there's some language barriers or you're writing in a different language or something like that. And maybe you could just use it for a portion of the content, right? Here's a good use case. I'm not sure if you do this, Alex, but you could have a writer maybe write, 700 words of content, and then you add another 500 or 700 words of content that's written by one of the AI writers. So it's a little bit more of a blend, and it helps offset the costs a little bit. So that could be a reasonable way to use it. For where I am in my business right now, I don't even care to learn how to use the tools. And one scenario that I've thought of, so let's say, one area I need help with is like writing content on niche site project, right? I'm pretty sure if I tried to get any sort of sophisticated content, it would not be very good. If there's something where you need to come up with original ideas, how is that going to be helpful? So I'm in a different spot where I'm trying to come up with potentially new ideas, something creative, something more interesting, maybe combining a couple ideas. And I don't think the AI can do that. And if you take a step further out and you're like, I'm in a more competitive market, like internet marketing, or maybe it's just a competitive market, technology, let's say, it's going to be really hard to get AI content written about maybe like new projects or new products and how that might impact other things in the future based on what you know. I don't see how that's going to work. So if you actually want to write good, interesting content, I don't think the AI writers are going to do it. At best, and correct me if I'm wrong, especially you, Alex. Yeah, we'll talk about it tomorrow. Everybody be sure you tune into the live stream. If you're trying to do something bigger, I don't think AI can help you at all. And yeah, tune into the live stream tomorrow. Alex, it's on your channel, right? Yeah, I think it rotated around. All right. Yep. And Alex says you've used Jasper on the live stream many times and people see the output. Yep. And it works. Very good. Yep. And I can't argue with that. Like I said, it's been like a year. All right. Moving on here. Okay, and Gaz says, my second site is based on a hobby, and I know more about the hobby than AI, so you left it. And it's better for you to write it, and it's probably more interesting. Okay, we're just chasing our tail with the AI writing stuff. I'm bored with it now, but it was a good discussion, and thanks, everyone, for listening to my nonsense there. And Alex is the voice of reason. And don't forget, he is doing a live stream later, right, Alex? You're going live in like 20 minutes or so. So yeah, be sure to check that out. And right now I need to rest my voice just a little bit. And when we come back, I'll tell you a couple of the other things that I worked on. So when I went to that retreat in Florida, I gave a talk, and I haven't given, a pure talk like that before at all. It was like 50 or 60 people. So it was, not a huge audience. It was very friendly. But I used a specific technique to memorize the speech. And I do talk a lot. I do a lot of these live streams, have the podcast, of course. So I talk a lot, and I wasn't too I wasn't too afraid of just talking specifically, but in front of an audience, you have nerves, of course. And like I said, I used a specific technique to memorize it, and I think it came off pretty well. It's not like I memorized it word for word, but I'll explain that when we get back. And you do see I have the guitar behind me, so I'll most likely at the end I'll play us out again. And because Alex is doing his thing later, we will end pretty promptly at the bottom of the hour. So let's get this video rolling here. This is from Odys. They do have their special, their, I think it's the spring $400 bonus. It's valid for another couple days. There's more information in the show notes. Here is the, I'm trying to click the play button. Got to get over to it. So here's the little ad, and I'll be back in just a minute. Brought to you by Odys.Global. They're the source for premium age domains with strong branding and powerful backlinks. And depending on when you're watching this, you might be able to take advantage of the $400 spring bonus, which is around during the spring. It expires on March 31st, 2022. So take advantage of it if you can. The featured domain for today is called Pure Massage. And this was a domain of a professional massage service that also had a training school for people that wanted to be professional massage therapists. It was created in 2005, and that means it's 17 years old. The domain rating is 24, and the domain authority is 37. Obviously, a very brandable domain. And there are, let's see here, it looks like there's 62 referring domains, and there are 47 of them that are do follow, and they are pretty relevant and very good links. A lot of out of the UK, so it looks like if you are in the UK, that could be a very good thing. But it also has some others, including National Geographic.com, pbs.org, dailymail.co.uk, vice.com, and guidestar.org. The cool thing with a domain like this is you can offer a lot of informational content around becoming a massage therapist, and then you could have ads on there. It could be, normal display ads that you might think of, but you also have the ability to put specific ads for maybe schools, like other schools that offer training, and you can get referrals through that. Additionally, you could have affiliate relationships with online courses that help people get the same kind of education. So really kind of diverse. Additionally, there are physical products associated with this profession. So I don't know what they are, maybe massage tables, maybe some other like oils and stuff like that. I'm not really sure. But there's also physical products that you can refer, and that would be a great route. So you can do display ads, you can do custom advertising, you can refer people to actual physical schools for enrollment, and you can refer people over to digital products. So pretty amazing. And again, this one is available right now, created in 2005. So thanks a lot to Odys Global. This one's called puremassage.com. And even if you don't want to start a site and you already have one in the massage area, this could be a good one to add to the mix to get more authority for your site. And don't forget, the spring bonus expires March 31st, 2022. All right. So thanks to Odys. Really appreciate that. And I often forget to put up my little what do you call it? It's like the little banner overlay thing here. So Niche Website Builders, and they do sponsor the Q&A segment. You can get 10% off link building packages or get more content if you get my coupon codes, link in the description. So I'll just put this little thing up here. And I did miss a question over from GTFO. This week, my site saw a 1 month worth of traffic in one day. Is it likely to be a spam bot? Google Analytics doesn't show which page or pages they went to. Okay, that's odd. It should show you which page or pages. Are you competent using Google Analytics? You should be able to see that. If not, you probably have Google Analytics set up incorrectly for some reason. So I would say you should check that. There's some other pieces that you can look at, and yeah, there's spam bots out there that just show up as traffic, and there's a couple of things you can look at. There's filters you could set up to block those as well, or you could block them from showing up in analytics, but you could also set up a filter so that you can look at historical data and filter out those pieces as well. So yeah, thanks to Odys. There's a link in the description. Remember your $400 credit in this spring special expires March 31st. So you just have a couple of days there. All right. Let's ask, or you can ask some more questions. Let's answer some more. So like I said, I did memorize the speech, and there's probably a couple people who are familiar with the concept of a memory palace. Has anyone heard of a memory palace? And you can use it to memorize almost anything. It's actually covered in the Tim Ferriss book. I think it's The 4-Hour Chef. And he talks about how to memorize a deck of cards. So there are different sort of flavors of this, and you could, once you understand the technique, it could be pretty versatile. So you can memorize like a deck of cards, and you could check out the 4-Hour Chef if you want to read that. It's probably listed online somewhere too, so you could just Google it. But what I did was a 25 minute talk, and I had roughly 5 main sections, and each one of the sections had somewhere between 3 to 5 different points. So what you do is visualize something that you're familiar with, usually a space. And for me, and one recommendation that people often make is like, make it your house. So each room can represent one of those sections. So I had like guest room, office, the kitchen, the dining room, the living room, and the master bedroom. So there's these different spaces, and that represented each one of the sections. And then in each room, you come up with some visualization for the specific subpoint of that section. And it could be whatever you want. It could be a celebrity. It could be an object that reminds you of it, some sort of symbol of what it was. It could be literally what it is. So, for example, one of the sections was in the kitchen, right? So one of the sections was in the kitchen, and it was about my side hustle journey. So I, at one point, mentioned the Bobs from Office Space. So I pictured the Bobs from Office Space in my toaster oven, which is kind of a funny, memorable thing. I just picture the 2 Bobs sitting in the toaster oven. And then I mentioned Pat Flynn. And then I picture Pat Flynn next to my electric tea kettle, just to warm water, right? And just a miniature version of him on the counter. And then I pictured a very small amount of money, 13 cents, laying on the counter. So I could just visually know like, oh, here's the 5 points for this particular section. And it's very straightforward to memorize stuff then. It seems like it could be a little bit hard, but it only took me maybe 15 to 20 minutes to come up with the, different rooms and then things that I would want to represent the topic area. So even if I got completely distracted and forgot what I was doing, I could, pop back into the office and then see exactly the 3 bullet points in there, because I had these sort of very rich visualizations of whatever it was. And it worked amazingly. I had not gone through that process before. I had heard about it. My wife actually worked her way up to learning how to do, I think, about 25 to 30 cards just randomly. You could shuffle cards and then hand it to her, and she could like call them back out to you, which is kind of crazy. I don't even know how many I could do if you just handed me a deck. Probably like five of them or something. But I, yeah, remember the speech. I think I practiced it a couple times and it went well. I'll publish it sometime in the future. Uh, Actually, maybe not before too long, over on the Mile High Fi YouTube channel. And let's see. Gaz says, you like the 4-hour work week, but Millionaire Fastlane was fab. It was an epiphany, a solid read. And Ariel says she liked it too. And Zach says the Memory Palace is cool. I like the linking method, which is similar, but it works well for ordered items, which is US presidents. Oh, I don't know the linking method. I may have to check that out. It's pretty, yeah, I think like once you attach, once you figure out like what works for you, it's probably awesome. And then if you use different methods or you're familiar with 2 different kinds, I bet it works awesome to use the right one. I'm sure one of them's better for certain things, and one of them's, like you said, US presidents or something for an ordered item where you need to know them in the specific order. The Millionaire Fastlane, I'm trying to remember if I read the whole thing or if I just read part of it. I think at the time when I read it, for some reason, I didn't like it. And I think maybe I was already familiar with the thought process. It could have been where I was with my corporate career as well. Not that I liked it. But what I find is you probably will notice when you read several of these books that so many of them cover the same things. It's just packaged and framed in a different way. And then you could just pick the one that you like, and you'll identify with a certain one. Like you said, it clicked for you specifically. In the 4-hour work week, not that I love that one. If you listen to the audiobook, it's very pretentious in many ways, but it's yeah, it's good. There's a lot of good thoughts in it, and you can take certain pieces that work really well, and there are others which, maybe were very valid and useful in 2007, or, whenever certain books were written, and then they don't age as well. And some of them are more generic with the specifics, so you're able to use the ideas in sort of a better way. So, all right. Let's see. It looks like we're winding down on the questions, so I can keep telling a couple more stories. And don't forget to check out the sponsors. We got Odys Global, Niche Website Builders, and Ezoic. And then let's see if there's anything else. Oh, if you want to get notifications for these, there is a link. It's the first link there. And I will send out an email to you, usually an hour before I'm going live. Sometimes YouTube is not reliable. You get it late, you don't get it at all. The notifications just don't show up. So I have a little section in my email list where I send it out to a handful of people that have opted in for that. And don't forget to check out my podcast, The Doug Show. There's a link in the show notes here. And then I got the Mile High Fi podcast, of course. Let's see, what other links do I have in here? I mentioned SiteGround. Yeah, I use SiteGround. Ecamm Live. Sometimes people wonder what I use to record these. I use Ecamm Live. And yeah, I think that's it. I've sort of tightened things up. And if you're not on the email list, do sign up. I send you all my templates and systems and point out useful articles or podcasts and all that stuff. All right. And Chris says that Millionaire Fastlane is the only book that you've read twice and you've given it as gifts to many friends. Good mindset on the content and you connected with it. Cool. Yeah. A lot of people, one of my friends really loved it also. And yeah, like I said, I didn't connect with it as much and maybe, I don't know why. So it's awesome. It sounds like uh, I'm losing the battle here. More people like it here than not. And let's see. John says, Doug.Show live in the flesh, the FY retreat. I don't even know what that means. But anyway, yeah, I will publish that talk, back to the talk that I gave at the Camp FI. And yeah, it's a super fun thing. It's very interesting, like the two subcultures. And a couple weeks before that, I went to a retreat up in the it was kind of a retreat. It was only like 25 people, and it was location independent entrepreneurs. And yeah, all right. So Chris is heading out. Says thanks everyone in the chat, and yeah, thanks everyone for hopping on. So it looks like we are pretty much done with the questions, which is great. So one little update here. I'm pointing over here. You can't quite see it, but I did get the new laptop. Just a little update. So I got a laptop, one of the MacBook Airs, the new M1 processor, and it was great. It's great. I love using it, and it's a little smaller than my old MacBook Pro, and it's faster. And John says, was my stuff on Ezoic missed? I guess so. Let's see. Let's see. Where is that? John says you have 400 unique visits in the past 40 days and Ezoic won't take you because they only use their analytics and not Google Analytics. And you have to have a 6-month reevaluation. They only take into account the traffic since you've been with them using their analytics. So they judged my site based on 10 days when they told me to wait 6 months. They wouldn't acknowledge. So I don't know anything about that. And yeah, so I don't know. I assume that they would, again, so Ezoic sponsors these, but I'm not associated with them as far as like any kind of support or knowledge base. So I would assume that Google Analytics is the sort of standard, but let's see, 400 visitors in the past 40 days. Okay. Sounds fine. And do you have a question around that? You're just saying you're surprised that they don't use that. Yeah, and I would say, I mean, one thing with like monetization and stuff, I mean, you can, as far as I know, right? As far as everything that I've been told is you can start using Ezoic with no page view minimum. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going on with your situation here, but maybe you're just not being able to monetize it. Here's my suggestion, and typically what I end up doing. I wait until I wait until I have enough traffic on a site until I will like clearly be earning. So if you were just, if you just had, what'd you say, 400 visitors in 40 days, like that's really low. That's very, very low, I would say, unless it's a very high value type visitor. And I would potentially just wait to monetize that until you're getting maybe more like 50 or 100 visitors per day, something like that. That's just me personally, but I end up putting things off for a while until like I know it's a valuable use of my time, if that makes sense. And John says, does that sound right? What's my comment? So yeah, my comment is I'm not an expert. And if you don't think that's right, contact their support and see what Ezoic says. And you didn't have a specific question, you were just commenting, and it was the basic Ezoic. Yeah, so I would say And as far as the 6-month evaluation, I have no idea. I haven't been in that position before, so I don't have experience with it. And I would encourage you to, I think they have live sessions. I'm not sure how often. I'm not sure if you like how much interaction there is. I've seen them come through on my inbox, but if they have sort of a Q&A and help session and you're able to ask, but I would ask questions to their support. And I'm sorry, I don't know, but I try to emphasize this. Yeah, I'm not an expert in the support area, especially with some of the nuances, especially when I come into things like not as a beginner. So, one thing, right? When you apply to the Amazon Associate program, like typically you just do it once. You don't have to do it over and over again. I applied to it 8 years ago. So when people might ask like, oh, where's the buttons and what do you do? What should I expect? I could tell you as much as I understand currently, but there's a chance that I don't know because I haven't done it recently. So, all right. And John says you appreciate the suggestion. That's what you're looking for, some thought process. Okay, cool. And I think that's it. I see, guys says great interactive stream. And I think a lot of people have filtered over to Alex's, but as I promised, I will, I guess, yeah, I've been playing us off the last couple times, so I could do that also. And maybe I'll flip it back to trying to get it. It's in manual focus here. Let's get this there. This should be kind of okay. I was out of town, so I haven't played in a few days here. Oh, it just worked out earlier. Just be a short one today. All right.